Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Janavala Girivardhari
Gopi Janavala Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana
Jamuna Teyavanachari
Yamuna Teyavanachari
Jamuna Teyavanachari
Yamuna Teyavanachari
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai Jai Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astota Satat Sisima Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra Ke Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ke Jai Prem se kahao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Se Advaita Gadadhara Se Vasadi Se Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ke Jai Se Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Girgavardhan Ke Jai Se Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ke Jai Se Mayapanavadip Dham Ke Jai Se Jagannathpuri Ayodhya Dham Ke Jai Gangamai Yamunamai Ke Jai Samatato Devi Bhakta Devi Ke Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vinda Ke Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to Sisi Goro and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Salakaya Saksur Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Sva Kadantam Vanchakalpataribhyacha Kripasanubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavavidyo Vaishnavidyo Namo Namaha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatari Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodato Gudadhaya Pushpavanto Chitu Chandro Tamani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So again, welcome everyone to this Saturday afternoon program right here in Berlin. So, we will sharing some things based on the Vedic culture, Vedic system on birthing Krishna-conscious children. Why this topic? Because more than 90% of our devotees are supposed to be householders. Householders means family. Family means children. And so children means we want Krishna-conscious children. Children who can represent us, uphold the glory of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and help in spreading the mission of the Lord So, right from the beginning of this movement, when Srila Prabhupada incorporated this movement in New York, 1966, Prabhupada allowed his devotees to get married. But some of them, who were just like boyfriend and girlfriends, he got them married. That was not the duty of a sannyasi. But as an acharya, he has to do what is needful to be able to create a sustainable spiritual environment for his disciples. And of course, the Vedic culture provides arrangement for family upbringing, family development means husband and wife. There's arrangement, there is a provision for marriage. And so it is not something that is just meant for a class of people or brahmacharis or sannyasis or vanaprasthas. No. In fact, Bhakti Vasudeva Thakur was a grihastha, and he was an acharya. And he had many children. He had over 10 children. See? So having children is one of the traditions of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And sometimes we wonder, why is it that some of our children are not interested in Krishna consciousness? I have seen very wonderful kids in this movement. I know in America, there was some of these kids that they got scholarship. They were homeschooled, got scholarship, and went to Oxford to finish up their PhD under 27. So we didn't lack scholars. We have produced very powerful scholars. I've also seen very powerful musicians born in this movement. Powerful kirtaneers that their kirtan shakes the world. So we have produced wonderful children, as a matter of fact. And I would like to add that I have not seen a single sannyasi in this movement that was born in this movement. All the sannyasis are, imported entities, imported souls. In other words, they came from outside. They came from outside. In organizations, when you have this association planning, when you don't have someone to fill up a leadership position, you have to go and get someone from another organization. So all of the sannyasis in our movement, they are from outside. But Prabhupada, by the mercy of Prabhupada, they are sustaining the movement. So the point is that we have gotten grown-up people who are beyond even the age of taking sannyas, born in this movement, but none of them has ventured to become a sannyasi. So, this is the motivation for making this presentation, that we need to produce children like Prahlad Maharaj. We need to produce children like Kapila Dev. Oh yeah. I remember I was in the Netherlands last year, and I was raising some similar issues. And the home I was staying, the devotee is not initiated yet at the time. And he just went to India and got married. And he got married to someone, a wife is not a devotee, just cultivating a wife to be a devotee. But the wife was pregnant when I was raising those issues in the temple. So when we came back home, he started questioning me what to do now. So it's a practical reality, okay? And sometimes people don't want to talk about these things like a no-go area. But, you know, we have been having sex since 1966 in this moment and producing children. They have not seen one single child born in this moment who took sannyas. Is it how we are going to go? No. So this is a challenge, in research. When we have to conduct a research, we have to look for a gap in the literature. So we have a gap in our movement, something to fill. There's a gap in the ISKCON movement, and we need to fill it in. And those young people who are preparing to go into marriage have to do the job, have to fill the gap in the literature of ISKCON, in the literature of ISKCON reproductive system. This is science. You wonder how Prahlad was begetted by Hiranyakasipu, a supposedly demon. How is that? If you ask anybody, in most cases they will say, oh, Narada Muni, blessed him right from when he was in the womb. But how did such a soul come into Hiranyakasipu's family? He was already in the womb of Hiranyakasipu's wife before Narada Muni came to bless. But how come such a powerful soul? How come that Hiranyakasipu, who is supposedly a demon, could give birth to such, or could beget such a child? So the story is unveiled in the Nrsimha Purana, in specifically chapter 20. See, as scholars, we say something, we want to make a reference, so that it does not become just a story. And you go and ask that, what did the Maharaja say? So we're giving you the chapter. You can read chapter 20 of the Nrsimha Purana. You got this gist. It's not in the Bhagavatam. Now, when Hiranyakasipu was planning to go to the forest to perform his austerities, to beg for the boon of immortality, Lord Brahma knew. Lord Brahma is Trikalagya. He knows the present, past, and future. So what do you think now? Lord Brahma knows. So when Hiranyakasipu was contemplating on this project, Lord Brahma was aware of it. And Lord Brahma was very disturbed. Because Hiranyakasipu was going to come and ask him something he could not provide. So he was worried about that. And as he was worried, the best of his sons, who is Lord Brahma's, the best sons of Lord Brahma?
Narada Muni.
Narada Muni. Because Lord Brahma himself said that in his Nrsimha Kavacha. There are two Kavachas. One is spoken by Prahlad, and the other is spoken by Lord Brahma. The one spoken by Lord Brahma, someone with forehead, is far sophisticated than Prahlad's. Someone whose body's the dominant element is intelligence. He is more sophisticated in, linguistic, philosophy, and whatever. So his Nrsimha Kavacha is more sophisticated and complex than Prahlad's. So in that very Nrsimha Kavacha, Lord Brahma had, Narada Muni was asking a question from his father. How did Indra get victory over his enemies? And Lord Brahma said, Sununada Bhakshami, my dear Narada, listen to me. So when he was, narrating how Indra got won over his enemies, at one of the texts, one of the verses, he said that you are the best of my sons. Therefore, listen to me. I will answer your question. Putra sisters, these are the words of Lord Brahma. Putra sisters, you are the best of my sons. Why are you the best? You are best in the sense that your life is characterized by austerity. The word of Narada Muni was his austerity. And what was his austerity? He didn't go to the forest to perform, those passionate austerities of wanting to become God or wanting to become, as powerful as anything. His austerity was going around the whole 3 worlds, spreading the mission of Lord Krishna, the glories of Lord Krishna. So Lord Brahma recognized that is the highest thing one could do, and his son is doing it. Therefore, he recognized Narada Muni as the best of his sons. So when Narada asked, he explained all of the stuff about how Indra gained his power. Now, because Narada Muni is the best of Lord Brahma's sons, he had some intimacy with his father. And when Lord Brahma was disturbed about this pending austerity of Hiranyakashipu, who was going to come and ask him something that himself doesn't have, immortality. Lord Brahma is not immortal. He lives for a very long time, but he's not immortal. And so, when Lord Brahma was disturbed, Narada Muni got a hint of it. So he went to meet his father. Narada Muni is also Trikala Gear. He went to meet his father. And like a typical Indian boy would meet his father and say, Papa, don't worry. I will deal with this matter. So Lord Brahma was placated because he knew the power of his son, Narada Muni. And Narada Muni strategized on how to deal with this matter. He knew when Hiranyakashipu would be going to the forest to start his austerities. And so he had gone to liaise with his friend, Parvata Muni. He spoke with Parvata Muni, told him the anxiety that his father was facing, and he solicited help from Parvata Muni that the both of them will have to take the bodies of birds and go to perch on a tree under where Hiranyakashipu will be performing his austerities. And they will be chanting a particular mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Narayana. So, Parvata Muni said, you're my friend. I'll do everything for you. Who will do that? That's an easy job. We'll go get it done. So, when Hiranyakashipu was to leave to the forest, he told his wife, hey, darling, you see, a dependable man will always tell his wife his plans. Okay? You hearing this? So, Hiranyakashipu, he had planned to go to the forest and perform this powerful austerity. So he shared that idea with his wife. He said, darling, I'll be away for a long time because I'll be going for austerities. He didn't tell the wife the details of his austerities. But he told the wife he was going to go away for austerities, was going to the forest for austerities. So when it was time, he left. He went to the forest and started his meditation, started his austerity. And all of a sudden, he started hearing this mantra, Om Namo Narayana. There were some 2 bears perching on a tree, and they were chanting this mantra. And Hiranyakashipu and Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, they are enemies. You know why they are enemies? Vishnu killed his brother. Okay? Hiranyakashipu. And so, if someone kills your brother, no matter how saintly you are, it's a little bit difficult for you not to reckon that person as your enemy. So don't blame Hiranyakashipu, okay? So, he started hearing this mantra. These birds were repeatedly chanting, Om Namo Narayana Nama, Om Namo Narayana Nama. And he became very disturbed. He didn't want to hear Vishnu's name because he's his enemy. So as he was so much disturbed, he couldn't continue with his austerities. So he left and came back to his palace. And then one day, he was having sex with his wife. An intelligent woman, a socially intelligent woman, knows what time to make inquiries from the husband, and the husband will not hide anything. You know the time? Huh? You know? When they're having sex. And especially before the discharge of semen. So that is the strategy that Hiranyakasipu's wife used in making inquiry. They were having an affair, but before the discharge of semen, she raised the issue. Hey, my darling, you see, you told me that you'll be going to the forest for a long time for austerities. But, you know, you went not quite long, you came back. What could have happened? So Hiranyakasipu started narrating about his experience. How these two beds, he was performing his austerity, and these two beds started chanting Om Namo Narayana. As he chanted the mantra Om Namo Narayana, he discharged him. And that was how that soul Prahlad was invoked. And you see, how many people will remember Krishna at the time of death? I mean, at the time of sex. It's very difficult because they're concentrating on the enjoyment. But now, at the apex of the enjoyment was when he remembered Vishnu. And keep in mind that the collective consciousness of the man and the woman at the time of sex is what invokes a particular soul of a particular caliber into the womb of the woman. And so, Hiranyakasipu remembered Vishnu, he remembered Narayan, prior to discharge of semen. So this is the reason, this is the sole reason why Hiranyakasipu was blessed with a powerful devotional child like Prahlad for remembering Narayan at the time of sex, just before the discharge of semen. Now, to correlate that to the Vedic principles, Prabhupada has given an outstanding instruction. They are the first initiation ceremony in New York. You know, all of these American boys and girls, they were coming to the storefront, the marshals give storefront, participating in kirtans, doing services and all this stuff. And the movement started developing, started growing. So at some point in time, Prabhupada wanted to give those the first set of initiation. But you know, when Prabhupada was preaching in New York, he never made mention of rules and regulations. He never told people, oh, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no. Because that is the culture of the people he was dealing with. But then, before the initiation, someone raised an issue. He said, Prabhupada, one of the devotees raised an issue. He said, Prabhupada, you want to give us initiation. What is our commitment? And Prabhupada said, you chant 64 rounds. And almost all of them, they said, no, we cannot. So Prabhupada brought it down to 32 rounds. And then they said, no, we cannot. And Prabhupada finally brought it down to rock bottom, 16 rounds. And he said, take it or leave it. 16 rounds, minimum. That is how we came by these 16 rounds. 16 rounds just makes us to be able to resist the temptations of Kali Yuga. And one devotee raised an issue. He asked that, our husband and wife, how many rounds should they chant before they have sex? And Prabhupada said 50 rounds. if they want to have Krishna-conscious child. And so, that is a difficulty. Anybody who is sincerely chanting knows that it is a difficulty. And you know what? That chanting has to be done prior, at a stretch, prior to having sex. It's not that you do the chanting yesterday and then you have the sex today. No. So I remember just recently, a few years ago, one of my aspiring disciples, she came to me and asked that told me she and her husband were preparing to have a baby. And the husband was not even a devotee. But she has convinced the man, they have the same profession, osteopathic medicine. So she has convinced the man, you want to have a baby, a powerful child, God-conscious child, this is the process. So the both of them, that guy and her, they chanted 50 rounds. They started at 12 o'clock, midnight, to chant till about 5:05 or so. So I met their baby in Liverpool, 2 years old, but she acts as if she is 5 years old. 2 years old. In terms of spiritual intelligence, social intelligence, everything. So, if we want to have children, Krishna-conscious children, why am I raising this issue? Listen, in this movement, see, I come from America. In America, I have seen devoted children who went to jail for drugs. They were born in this movement. So it's a serious issue. We don't want to have children who will mess us up. And therefore, the very idea of even having a matrimonial relationship should be properly checked before we venture into it. Because, one of the reasons why the marriages in the Indian subcontinent are more stable than the West is that, the parents, they go out to check for the compatibility charts. I remember one girl, she's a scientist, she's doing a PhD, she lives in Mayapur with the mom. So there was one guy who came after chasing her for marriage and all this stuff. But then, that very boy had gone to meet, the parents of that very boy have gone to meet another girl before this scientist. And the parents of that girl said no, they will not give the daughter to this guy for marriage. Why? They had gone to investigate. They took the charts, they took the date of birth, time of birth, place of birth, and then went to meet some, what do you call it? Yeah, to check for the compatibilities. And the astrologer told them that, they told the parents that this boy, his first marriage will end in divorce. So they didn't give the girl. Now, the parents of this boy went to meet this scientist and the mom. She was just living with the mom. And then there was so much of pressure. So they gave in. But you know what? They stayed for less than a year. Less than a year. Divorce. So, I personally get involved when my disciples or aspiring disciples are getting married. Just one of them wrote to me from South America. He was getting ready to marry. So I got his data and check out with the guy the astrologer who normally helps me checking all of these social compatibilities for the marriages. And then I saw that the guy advised that, yeah, they are highly compatible. They can go ahead. So, we have also seen so many marriages in our movement end in divorce. Why? in the beginning, when I joined, there was this philosophy. I joined in the 80s. There was this philosophy that we are transcendental. We don't need all the astrological charts. Those charts are meant for non-devotees. We, Krishna Bhaktas, we don't need all those things. But then I saw 8 marriages conducted in one day. A wedding ceremony in one day. And those 8 couples, within 8 years, all of them divorced, except for 2. Because we had this philosophy that we are transcendental, we don't need any compatibility charts. And so, these are major things that we should take due consideration of. Because if we are too transcendental, we don't need sex. But if we want sex, we should go according to the Vedic principle. If we want to have Krishna-conscious children, it is a big challenge. Now, to chant 16 rounds is such a difficult thing for most people. And you have someone to chant 50 rounds. So, this is my slogan. Married life is not meant for the weak. Married life is meant for advanced souls. Because anyone can get married, but to be a grihastha, that is an advanced standard of marriage. In fact, for you, if you are a grihastha by practice, you are more advanced than a Swami or a brahmachari. Because the grihastha means that you have the prasadam there in the same room with you, 64 preparations. You are fasting in Ekadasi, okay. You have you are fasting in Ekadasi, and there are different preparations, 64 preparations in your room. If you really are able to navigate through that temptation, then you're really detached. A grihastha is like that. A real grihastha is someone who has the same gratification right before them, and they are detached. They follow the rules. Everybody is not going to be able to do that. Let's be clear. And so, to avoid this disgrace that children can bring to us, especially the young people who are venturing into marriage, these things are not being spoken in the open. But this is not the time for us to keep things clandestine anymore, because we have had some serious setbacks because of this type of approach to social issues. And essentially, if people want to have powerful children, there is also the process of Garbhadan Sanskar, where you have to perform some type of rituals to be able to prepare your mind and a wife's mind for producing or evoking a powerful soul. So, often we have seen that if someone is a brahmachari and then they say, I can't be a brahmachari anymore, I want to marry. That if you can't even be a brahmachari, you cannot be a grihastha. Because a brahmachari, you don't have to deal with the same gratification. A grihastha, you have to deal with the same gratification and not become a gratifier. So there are 2 things: to be married and to be a grihastha. One can be married, but it's very difficult to be a grihastha. And if you're not a grihastha, a real authentic grihastha, it is very difficult to beget or to bet Krishna's conscious children. And so the example of Prahlad is there. His father, so-called demon, he remembered Vishnu at the time of sex. He chanted Narayan's name at the time of sex. His consciousness was superb, God consciousness. This is the power of the holy name. Holy name can create wonders. And that one that we're talking about here is the case of Prahlad. See, this Leela is not documented in the Bhagavatam. And therefore, we have to see how we are practicing to chant 16 rounds, at least, before we get married. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to contain ourselves, to follow all of this rigid system. Of course, if you don't want a God-conscious child, it's okay. You can do anything. But you see, the parents that the children were put to jail, I know one of those families closely. I used to stay in their home. And the lady who constantly called me up to tell me what to do, this and that. The boy was even initiated. And there are other ones that I also know of. So, we don't want to be statistics. We don't have to bear this horrible walk of life, the consequences of horrible work. Because see, when your child is thrown into jail because of breaking the principles, no matter how great a preacher you are, your lips are sealed. You're a great preacher. What can you tell me? What about your child? The child is in jail because he did drug or she did drug or something. So we have to be careful about even the partners we choose, because the collective consciousness of the man and the woman is what makes a conducive relationship. And as far as the reproductive system in our movement is concerned, we need to improve. Because it just shows that majority of us are not really following the Vedic standard. And that is why we have not produced any science in our movement. Any comments or questions? Yes, please.
So, Prabhuji, last time you told everyone about your accident, like how Krishna, sometimes when you are doing chanting, he gives crazy problems, like you also mentioned, to Mataji, it gives, they are asking why I was chanting, why I got such a husband. And this is true, actually. I even know some of my friends, they are very good devotee, and their wives now, they start eating maybe non-vegetarian food sometimes, and so I think I personally feel like it's not in our hand. It's so many things, and God is also very mysterious. So how to? So can they only chant alone if they want the Krishna conscious? How much collectiveness?
Yeah.
Can Krishna cut some slack to them?
Prabhupada said the laws of nature are very stringent. You hear Prabhupada use this very phrase. The laws of nature are very stringent. Krishna is not the one operating these laws of nature. It's his agency. Okay? And Lord Brahma mentions in the Brahma Samhita that from Indragopa to Lord Indra, everyone is bound by the rules, by the laws of karma. Retributive justice or requital epistemology. It holds sway in all circumstances. So, you see, that is why to be a human being is just a complex thing. We have so-called independence, but we are circumscribed too. Okay? And therefore, it is important that we know human life is a life of responsibility. You see, other lower species, they don't have that responsibility. They are not responsible. A lion is not responsible for killing a deer for lunch. No. It's just natural sequence of events. It's just natural that he has to do that. A human being, when we commit violence, we are accountable. If you violate the laws of sex, we also get some reactions. You see, in America, I have seen people, especially the billionaires. In most cases, they have divorced two, 3, or 4 times. I was reading about one senator. He had a beautiful wife. Senator means lawmakers in parliament. He had a beautiful wife. He had an affair with one woman, and the wife got to know, so she divorced him. He married that one, and then that as he was with that very one as a wife, he had an affair with another woman, and then this one got to know and divorced him. It's so bad. But here is the kicker. If we are chanting Krishna's names, Krishna gives us that impetus to be able to resist the temptations. If we say we are too busy to chant Krishna's names, okay, no problem. But the unfoldment that will come in our lives, we can't hold anyone responsible but ourselves. In other words, human form of life is a platform of high responsibility. And so we don't have excuses. Yeah, we don't have excuses. There is no question of, the laws of karma, the laws of gravity will not change because of me. The seasons, they will not change because of me. Autumn, winter, spring, they will not change because of me. Because I feel very cold during the winter, so what? These are the laws of nature that have been there. And so it's a life of responsibility, in short. It's stringent. These are the words of Prabhupada. He said, the laws of nature are very stringent. It means we can go around it, we can circumscribe the laws of nature. And they will not bend the laws because of an individual. Yes, Prabhupada.
You mentioned a couple of things. So first example you mentioned was your friend who was a preacher and they had a kid and he went to jail. Then for his answer you mentioned responsibility and you mentioned law of...
Not my friend who was a preacher. I said, somebody, a devoted child, he did drugs and he went to jail.
Right. So my question is regarding what part of a human's life, or in that case, is upbringing, parental patterns from a psychological standpoint, law of karmic laws as well, and agency as well, because if somebody is caught doing drugs and in the jail, there's a lot of free will involved. According to Gita, there is still free will, there is still agency.
Sure.
So, is this, if we say that if he is not Krishna conscious, or if somebody tries to have a kid who is not Krishna conscious, but they still end up in a wrong spot or a bad spot in their life, then isn't it still according to what Krishna says, where a human can have everything, but still they have a choice of agency, they have a free will. So how do you put this in?
Thank you very much. Now we are giving vivid example of how the very culture of sex determines the type of soul that is evoked into the lady's womb. You see, when people have sex, there are living entities all over the place. Living entities characterized as savagya. Depending on the consciousness of the man and the woman, a particular soul takes shelter of the wife's womb through descent. And so, if someone is able to remember Vishnu or God at the time of copulation, like Hiranyakasipu did. This was a striking example that we're using in this case. Hiranyakasipu was a demon, he's not a devotee. But just because he chanted Narayan's name at the time of sex, just before seminal discharge, he was blessed with a powerful soul. Powerful soul was invoked into the wife's womb. And so this is the point that, and our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, has prescribed a strategy for us to be able to have Krishna-conscious children. And he talks about the chanting intervention that he's provided for us. And he said, the husband and wife should chant 50 rounds each before mating. That will create an enabling environment for a powerful soul to be invoked into the woman's womb. Now, other things, there are so many other things surrounding what happens, nature and nurture, environment. But these are the fundamental things we're talking about, that the consciousness of the wife and the husband is the sole determining factor for the invocation of a particular soul into the wife's home.
But does that override the destiny? Because if it
The
overrides
destiny is part of it that enables that invocation of the powerful soul. Now, the destiny of Prahlad was to be born in Hiranyakasipu's family, because Hiranyakasipu chanted Krishna's name.
But Prahlad still had agency to act on his dharma.
Yeah, but we're talking about his birth. The agency are what? Nature. Material nature. Material nature is a facilitator. And so if someone, see, when you talk about, even you will mention about the crime factor. Now, in criminology, there is general theory of crime. And there are other associated criminal models, criminal law or criminal models. One of those major criminal models is the general theory of crime, propounded by Gottfriedson and Hitchie in 1990, which stipulates that all crimes and antisocial behavior are due to uncontrolled senses or low self-control. Rupa Goswami also mentions about that over 500 years ago. These criminologists, they just propounded that in 1990. Rupa Goswami mentioned Vasho Vegam, Manasa Koda Vega, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pasta Vegam, Etam Vegam, Yo, Vishahita Dira, Sabram Apiman, Pritivim Satsasya. It's the fundamental principle. And so, if someone is not able to digest it, they may find very many excuses about philosophy or whatever. But then, this is the whole thing. If you talk about crime, why that boy or those devoted children are put in jail? If you go to the external perspective, is low self-control, lack of, control over the sensory modalities in the mind. Our Lord Krishna mentioned that an uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. Even an entertainer like Jimmy Cliff, he mentions that we have to, I don't know, Bob Marley. Bob Marley says that we have to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery.
So is it so? What is I get the point. Thanks for that. So nature can override a lot of situations like born circumstances, born temperament, and born consciousness. Then, just from a counter thought perspective, in Mahabharata, there are many Kauravas in terms of, let's say, Bhishma or Duryodhana. They had very strong nature. They were also conscious, but they were again on the wrong side of dharma. So in my head, I'm having conflicting, a little bit of conflict here, because even their dharma overrode their nature even. So that's an opposite example, that was my question.
Now, if you're talking about Duryodhana or the sons of Dhritarashtra in general, you know how Dhritarashtra was born blind? You know why Dhritarashtra was born blind? You know why Pandu was born pale? His body complex. So these things are written there, and again it boils down to the mentality of the woman and the man. Dhritarashtra was born blind. Dhritarashtra is the father of Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra was born blind because when Vyas came to impregnate Ambalika, she closed her eyes because she was scared of Vyasa's appearance. He was performing austerities for a long time, locked hairs, not bathing, and so she was scared. And because Vishintavirya had passed away and there is no heir to the throne, someone has to be able to come to create that conducive environment by the Niyuga ritual. And so Vyasa came for that Niyuga ritual, but Ambalika was scared of Vyasa and she closed her eyes. That is why Dhritarashtra was born blind. Ambika was frightened. So her body went pale. That is why Pandu's body was pale. So these are just physical structures, not to talk about the other details. So when you refer to Duryodhana, you have to go back about who is Duryodhana's father, Dhritarashtra, and this is the circumstance surrounding his blindness. And so he carried Dhritarashtra genes. The father, the child normally will carry the parent's genes. So the point is that we're talking about a very simple thing. And so if you want to expand it, we can talk from here till tomorrow. But the point is, it's an immediate stuff we are talking about. What causes someone to act in the way that seems contrary to conventions? And what is responsible for people supposedly lucky to have powerful souls, powerful kids like Prahlad or Kapila Dev? Yeah, this is the problem. It's a complex science. All right, what's the time?
Maharaj, we have more time to continue.
Okay. I know. In India, when you ask people, when you go to the temple for a lecture and you ask them, what time is this class starting? They tell you, oh, Maharaj, you're not in America. Just go on.
But we also have the same mood.
Okay, any other comment or question? Yes.
Maharaj, can you give some more example? Kapila Dev also, Maharaj. Kapila Muni example also in maybe in 5-10 minutes.
Kapila Dev, what? Kapila Dev, the father was Kadama Muni, is a powerful sage. So it is not surprised that, he was able to invoke a powerful soul, incarnation of Godhead. If you look at all of these incarnations and these powerful souls, look at their parents. And look, Krishna, he took birth in someone on the street or some businessman who doesn't have who is not regulated. His father was, Nanda. He was a powerful devotee. And they highly regulated. So that is this stuff that I normally would like talking about all the time. There is this devotional practitioners and devotees. There are two classes of if one is a devotional practitioner, they may not like their lives, but it saves them from so much of social calamities. You see, the process is rigid. And so some people, they like to avoid difficult things and to rationalize why they would want to do that. So yeah, even Kapila, the father, Kadama Muni. And, Devahuti's father, Swayam Bhugaman, was in charge of that marriage. He personally arranged. He personally went out to look for a powerful sage like Kapila, like Kadama Muni, to take care of his daughter. I mean, these days we meet each other on the street and we say love at first sight. Oh, we say what is it? What is the name? What is the description they give again? So, soul. What is it? What is that word? Soulmate. Yeah. That's my soulmate. And then they come together after a few years. They fight and then that's divorce. So we see the whole world is confused. What is happening in the social setting is so bad. I don't know the case here in Germany, in America, is so bad. That practically, I was just watching this Jackson family. They made some biopic of Michael Jackson, and then a guy, Jafar Jackson, he has made so much millions of dollars from it. But you know what? That boy, his mother got married to Michael Jackson's brother, Randy Jackson. And then Randy Jackson left the mother, and then the mother married another of Michael Jackson's brother, Jermaine Jackson. They're sharing the same woman in the same family, which is also good, so that the beautiful woman does not go outside. But it's like you have a brother who was a wife, and you're eyeing his wife. You're waiting when they'll separate and you take over. So, and then most of these people, the billionaires and people in the entertainment industry, they have the highest rate of divorce. They have plenty of money, but the divorce is far higher than any other set of industry. In fact, in the whole world, Russia has the highest divorce rate, second by America. So Russia beat America in that. So anyway, the point is that we should try to see how we are creating a conducive environment for rearing powerful souls. There should be groundwork. The groundwork is the Garbhata Samskara. Yes. Any other point? Yes.
Maharaj, I have
series of questions.
Yeah, some 2-3 questions. I will try to maybe if I saw Rikesh Prabhu also wants to ask some questions, so
Okay.
it's nice. Maharaj, first of all, I want to thank you for going in these gray areas. This is really. I don't think the way last time you were also here, and still some of us we speak about those lectures, we discuss about those lectures. How you mentioned that before getting married we should read basically the psychology, the man should read about the book of the book for the women's psychology and vice versa. Those examples are still in we talk about that, and today's also when Praful Prabhu shared me the topic, I was really wondering what is going to come, but yeah, this is so amazing, and thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you.
And yeah, I just remembered the first thing when you spoke about Narada Muni's austerity. I just remembered the austerity you are also going or doing, Maharaj, how you are controlling your tongue for these things so many years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I literally felt the connection over there, Maharaj. That is I want to offer to you.
Thank you.
And then you spoke about the married, the Grihamedi and the Grihasthas. So I would like to know what is the difference, maybe for some of us or all of us, this would be a nice point to understand what is the difference between the married, only married or Grihamedi and the Grihastha, and even if someone is in this Grihamedi mentality, how can they shift from this Grihamedi mentality to the Grihastha mentality, Maharaj?
Okay, so let me take this first. Now, thank you for your question. First of all, these very things that border on our social life. We don't discuss them so much. We discuss all these, Madhurya Lila, which is also good, okay? But it seems that we avoided talking on sensitive things that bother on our daily lives. So I like to deal with situations that are being ignored or are not being talked about. So, having said that, now when you talk about Grihamedi and Grihasta, Grihamedi is someone who is married and uses their spouse for sense enjoyment. No regulations, no self-regulation, and they just use their spouse as whatever, like a partner, a business sex partner. Or in some cases, in some of the marriages, the man is the breadwinner, and then they use the wife like a maid, like a servant. But a man and a woman, when they marry, it's not that the woman becomes a maid. No, they are partners. They should have shared responsibilities. I know of one guy, Indian man. He's late now, but he was a nuclear chemistry professor in India before he came to America, and then took up some job in toxicology. An Indian man. His wife was a full-time homemaker. He had two sons. One is a dentist, one is a lawyer. I was in the temple where he was the secretary or vice president or something like that. So I know him very closely. And he told me, as an Indian man, he will come back from work in New York and help the wife in household chores. He still did that till he died. So the point is, your wife is not your maid. What are you thinking about if your children are growing up in a home and you treat your wife like a maid? You are not radiating love. And say the bottom line is that some people, they just see relationship as a means of exchange. It's not a means of exchange. It's a life of responsibility, a life of caring. And the very concept of love is misconstrued. This is the problem. Some people think that when you're attracted to somebody, you love them. Okay, I used to give this analogy of, say, an iron nail. If you take an iron nail towards a magnet, what happens? It attracts the iron nail. Is there love between the iron nail and the magnet?
No.
So what is this? So the attraction is what Krishna basically referred to as lust. In the Bhagavad Gita, lust. And this whole thing about love is, I don't know the case in Germany, but in America is people have really been taken over by this misconstruement, and it has become the standard norm. Someone is lost after some. Of course, the young people now, even the young girls, they have a slang when they become attracted to somebody, attracted to a young boy. They said, "I have a huge crush on that guy." So they know that there's not love. They use the term crush as a slang, as a euphemism, to cover up the whole emotion and the feelings. And so, when we do understand in our spiritual teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, that this attraction based on bodies, it's not a be end all. It's temporary. So, I have seen people get attracted to a girl when the girl was, the boobs of the girl were 90 degrees to the chest. When they have kids, the boobs have laps, and they got attracted to that girl who was 90 degrees boobs to the chest. They destroyed the family. I've seen all of these. Is it love? Attraction is not love. Let's be sincere to ourselves. We were not exposed to this philosophy when we were young. At least for young people now, you know better that you have to shape your life, shape your mentality in a way that you don't become a victim of circumstance. Otherwise, the whole world is based on this principle that attraction means love. No. And so, Grihamedi means somebody who is just attracted to somebody for exploitation. And the Grihastha means someone who is married and is self-regulated. And that's why I mentioned that to be a Grihastha takes a lot of emotional courage. And so sometimes you find some brahmacharis, they say, well, I cannot be brahmachari anymore. I mean, I'm attracted to women, I'm lusty, let me just get married. It doesn't end in lust. I was in California one time. So we had a public program, and this public program attracted a number of people who are not devotees. So one beautiful lady, one Caucasian, she was there. She was there by herself, not with her family. So after the program, there were some issues that were raised in the program, I raised in the talk. And then after the program, she came to meet me privately, and then she was inquiring that, what can I do? See, I have a very handsome man, a good, reputable gentleman with a high-paying job, attractive man. But I still get attracted to other people. What shall I do? Yeah, so even when you're married, it does not end the lust. The point is, except we practice to be self-regulated. We practice, the self-regulation comes automatically if we embark on Bhakti Yoga. We chant Hare Krishna every day. We'll see that the things we are attracted to in the past are gradually diminishing. That is not the purpose of the chanting. It's just, what would I say? A positive side effect. Like every medication, every intervention has some side effect. You take some intervention for dealing with cancer, let's say chemotherapy, it has side effects. But the side effects in chemotherapy, they are not good ones. But the side effects of this mantra intervention, this Hare Krishna mantra intervention, they're good ones. You self-control, control of the senses, automatically it comes. So people who want to be really grow in their spiritual life, social life, and even the academic life, because this Maha Mantra has also been proven by some scientists in research that it helps to improve cognitive skills and high attention span. Oh yeah. So we're not trying to be dogmatic. This is a theological tradition, but it is also scientifically oriented. So Grihastha and Grihamedi, people in general, they don't know about what is attraction or what is love, not to speak of Grihastha and Grihamedi. A real married person should try to be a Grihastha. And if someone is not practicing spiritual life, how are they going to be self-regulated? How are they going to regulate their senses? It is very difficult, boy. It is very difficult. And if someone is a devotee, is practicing Krishna consciousness, things can be pretty easy. You don't need to make any extra effort. Naturally, Krishna takes care, and you'll be able to tame your mind and your senses, naturally. So, shall we end here? Or someone wanted to ask a question?
One last question.
I had two actually, but I can.
Please, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have some more.
Go ahead.
I mean, the first one is relating to, obviously you said that the importance of the consciousness of the man and woman at the time of sex, mating is very important.
Yeah.
But also I feel the decision, like obviously when you choose to marry someone, this is your partner for your life, right? So I feel like this is a very important decision as well.
Sure, it is.
So my question was also relating to how should one choose a partner or a marriage, like how should a man choose a wife, how should a wife choose a man? What you mentioned something like self-regulation is something like a very steady.
No, that is not the process of choosing a partner.
No, I mean marriage that you.
Self-regulation is not the process of choosing a partner.
I mean, looking for someone with these qualities.
Okay.
Is it's something.
How would you know?
And that actually relates to my second question.
No, let me answer this first. You see, we human beings, we are vulnerable. We are endangered species. Social life, we are endangered species. Because in most cases, we don't go into all of these investigations. See, in India, it's a little bit different. India and some parts of, I know my Nepalese friend, when we were brahmacharis together in New Jersey, and he wanted to get married, so his parents did some search for him, and then they investigated, they checked the compatibilities using their data, their time of birth, place of birth, city of birth, all of those details. The Vaishnava astrologer used it checking their compatibilities, and he got a woman. They got a woman for him who is not a devotee. A brahmachari going into the grihastha, and then he married someone who is not a devotee. But the girl is initiated now, they have grown-up kids. So the compatibility is what we need to watch out for. We need to check the compatibilities with reputed astrologer. I know of people who even have PhDs in astrology in India. I know of devotees who even have master's degree in astrology in India. When my disciples are getting married, or my aspiring disciples are getting married, I get involved myself. They will bring the data of the girl or the boy with their own data, and then we check. I know in one case, I was so much pain because, this boy is a devotee, is a medical doctor, and the girl is a pharmacist. So the girl's parent wanted her to get married as soon as possible. So this boy's parents came to meet the girl's parent. So I thought, wow, this is a perfect match. But when they check the astrological compatibility, they are not compatible. I was pissed off. Yeah, so we need some patience, but then the preliminary thing is we need to understand what is required. We need to check these details. Otherwise, just attraction alone, or the boy is very good, or the girl is very good. I have seen cases like that. It doesn't necessarily going to end up well. So we check the compatibility first. And there are details that you need to be able to use in checking that. If one is able to do that, then you can be rest assured you have some guarantee of a sustainable relationship, a guarantee of some mutual understanding too. Otherwise, see, I tell you one other thing. One of Papa's disciples, he told me, he stays employed as an engineer. He told me his first wife, he met this lady, and then he said he wants to marry her. Can she follow all of these things? He's a devotee. The girl said, he said, yes. Yes, I'm going to follow everything. So they got married. They didn't check any compatibilities, okay? So they got married, they had a baby, the boy was 2 years old, the son was 2 years old, and then one day the lady just came to him and said, hey, I'm not following any damn thing anymore. So he said, hey, time to quit. That's how they disrupted the marriage. So the attraction alone should not be the determining factor. The point is, When we're going to talk to somebody, we should check for the compatibilities. That helps to say. In the initial times, early times, we didn't care about these things. But like my science guru, Bhakti Swami, is very much concerned about these things. In Mayapur, there is a whole department that is regarding the disciples that deal with all this stuff, this compatibility stuff. Because we have seen so many of our marriages fall apart in the past. We never cared about the compatibilities. We said we were transcendental. But if we are not transcendental to sex, who want to have sex, we should follow the Vedic injunctions. Compatibility is a requirement in the Vedic injunction. What's the other question?
It was relating to marriage between people who are devotees and non-devotees. Sometimes I see people who are not strictly like a devotee. I'm not sure exactly what it means as well, like to be like, am I a devotee if I'm dressing in dhoti and kurta? Sometimes it's like that, but is it?
What's the question?
What the question is: should people get married? People who are not devotees, and should a person who is a devotee get married to someone who is not a devotee?
It's not generally advisable, but I can give you there are some exceptions. See, because we have seen also in the past. I remember the case of one of my friends. When this boy was doing his undergraduate studies, he was very pious, so serious and devoted. Now he finished his undergraduate studies, went to do his master. He got some assistantship job in university. And then he got attracted to some girl who is from an aristocratic family. So the girl said she will follow every damn thing. And they got married. And again, they had a baby. When the baby was like 3 years or thereabout, the wife was having so much pressure from her family, who are not devotees. And she was also getting pressure from the boy's family, who are not devotees. So both sides of the aisle, she was getting some pressure. So she couldn't cope with it anymore. And then she gave it, she threw in the towel. She said, I'm not going to follow this anymore. And you know what? The boy was weak. The boy went down with her. In fact, the time I met him after some years, he was eating meat. So I had to I struggled so hard to pull him out from that mess. So, the case is that if you venture into marrying somebody who is not a devotee, they may promise heaven and hell, and the result may be disastrous. Now, there are some exceptional cases. I can give you a typical example. I have one of my aspirant disciples. She has a master's in osteopathic medicine. She's living with her husband in the UK, in Liverpool. I went there. That's the child I was talking about. She got married to a man who was not a devotee. And we were all against it. But you know what? That guy, for them to have that child, that guy chanted 50 rounds of the mantra. Wow. He's a devotee now. And their child, at 2 years old, acts as if she's 5 years old. Super smart. And highly devotional. So there are some exceptions. It depends on the influence of that person. Depends also your fortune or your misfortune or whatever. But as a general rule, we should check for the compatibilities. And then we should try to see that the person... There are many devotees on the planet. Don't just circumscribe yourself to Germany. There are so many devotees who are looking for spouses. Oh yeah. There are websites that are for matrimonial matches. Yeah, don't limit yourself to just your community. If you don't have, and even our devotional communities, we should set up marriage matching systems that people, so that our devotees don't have to just do all of the struggle by themselves. And sometimes we are negligent about these things. We don't care about the social issues, but we are social human beings. Humans, we are social animals. Why are we neglecting the most important things in our lives? Everyone is not going to be Paramahamsa by sitting down and chant 64 rounds. So when you talk about family development, it's supposed to be an imperative factor in our communities. So these things need to be taken care of. People need to volunteer to be able to take responsibility for creating an avenue where the young boys and the young girls, they create some matches based on their professional ideologies. So that may help us for the future. But if we go on like this, that we don't care about the young people, the young boys and the young girls, and then they go outside to get themselves entangled, we are not really doing anyone any good. We are involuntarily creating danger for our future generations. Yeah, so the management, they have to see. You see, don't just collect donations from people, see also to their needs. All right, I think we're going to stop here. Time is gone. See the proper good.